Hello, I'm Gavin Hoey. I'm an ambassador for Olympus UK, and these are the 17mm, 25mm and 45mm Pro lenses. Now, being prime lenses and from the Olympus Pro range, they have amazing image quality, of course. But they're also, all of them, weather sealed. So they are all splash proof, freeze proof and dust proof. But then there's this lens. This is my favourite Olympus lens. It is the Olympus 12 to 40mm Pro zoom lens. Now, why would I want three lenses when I can have a single zoom lens that covers almost the entire same range? Well, these three lenses have one thing that this lens doesn't have. These three lenses are all f1.2. This lens is f2.8. That's 2 1/3 stops difference, and that really matters. Let me show you why. Perhaps the most obvious use for the f1.2 lenses is anytime you want to shoot in low light. For example, if you get the correct exposure at, say, ISO 200 on an f1.2 lens, but you swap to an f2.8 lens, to maintain the same exposure, your ISO would have to rise to ISO 1000, and that would have an impact on the image quality and the noise. Then there's shutter speed. Let's say you get the correct exposure at 500th of a second on the 1.2 lenses. Well, if you're using a 2.8 lens, your shutter speed would increase to an 80th of a second to maintain the same exposure, and that would have an impact on image sharpness. And then there's me. I'm a portrait photographer and I use extra lighting all of the time, but how many more lights would I need? Well, let's say I get the correct exposure using a single light at f1.2 at full power. If I want to use my 2.8 lens, I would need 2 1/3 stops more light. So one more stop of light would mean doubling from 1 light to 2. 2 more stops of light would mean doubling from 2 lights to 4. And a third extra on top is more or less 1 more light. So 1 light or 5 lights. That's quite a difference. Different photographers will have different uses for these lenses, but for me, the 17mm with its fast focusing and excellent optical quality is my go-to lens whenever I shoot video. The 25mm is a good all-rounder. I use it whenever I'm shooting in low light, but I need to maintain a faster shutter speed. The 45mm, well, that's my portrait lens. If I'm shooting head and shoulders shots, I can have a fantastically shallow depth of field, beautiful background blur or bokeh. It just works perfectly. So that's what I do with these lenses, but of course you're going to shoot something different, and it doesn't matter what sort of photography you do, there's a 1.2 lens for you. I'm Gavin Hoey, thanks for watching.